Today, the man behind the mic. Why is the Nebraska radio announcer still such a big job? We dive in.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
All right. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Connor Happer and Mitch Sherman with you. I'd like to apologize for missing the last couple days, which have forced this podcast to not exist for the last couple days. We've been wildly inconsistent lately. I got the College World Series flu, cold. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna grind through it today. Thank you for having some grace with this. I appreciate it.
If there's ever a month where it's okay to be a little bit inconsistent in speaking about college football, I think June is that month. Yeah. I think that you have, first of all, the first time we were inconsistent was because I was on vacation. So that's not your fault. And then this time it is your fault because you got sick.
Yeah.
And it's the middle of summer. Like, it's officially summer. It's been summer for a while, but now the calendar says it's summer. And the days are long, and it's a dead period in football. There are not even recruits coming in. Dana Holgerson is in Key West or Europe or wherever he might be. If you want to know more about that, listen to our Monday show. And Matt Rhule's, I don't know what he's doing. We're not seeing him on social media. I see Terry Braden hanging out with D linemen. I see Phil Simpson going to the gym or whatever that was that he posted on social media yesterday. Like, it's downtime. But thank you, listeners and viewers, for being here with us today. And remember, get your mailbag questions in. We have a big show planned on Friday. So from the top of the show today, we don't usually do this at the beginning. Get your mailbag questions in, lockedonneb@gmail.com. We want to have a robust mailbag tomorrow to finish out this abbreviated week on a strong note.
Yeah, maybe it's a sign. If you talk too much about college baseball over a 10-day stretch, then you will get sick at the end of it or something like that. But yeah, we'll get back to football. And we've missed some things over the last couple of days. So Nebraska officially announced their next play-by-play man, Kyle Crooks, will be the new play-by-play voice of Nebraska football. He was at Florida. He did many sports at Florida, but a young up-and-coming broadcaster. He was also at Fairleigh Dickinson and USC Upstate before that. And so obviously he's kind of done the rounds a little bit this week. Mitch, you talked to him for a story on The Athletic, which people can read right now, but people are starting to get to know the new voice of the Huskers.
I'm surprised he has a voice left. I think everybody's talked to him. It's like he's been on so many podcasts and done so many different radio shows and various appearances over the past week, and he's not even in Lincoln yet. He's driving to Nebraska here in the next few days and wants to be on the ground around July 1st and start working for the Huskers radio network in a part-time role in the month of July. He's got a lot to learn about the Nebraska roster and the Nebraska program and the coaching staff and the schedule this year and the Big Ten. So it's funny you mentioned Fairleigh Dickinson and USC Upstate, because when I was talking with Kyle yesterday on Wednesday, and I asked him, has it hit you yet? He's 34 years old, first of all, which is cool that Nebraska is going to have this young, vibrant, I think he's really going to be into his job, which is part of what Troy Dannon was looking for. It's kind of like what Matt Rhule looks for in assistant coaches. And while you've seen the look of Nebraska's assistant coaches, like the demographic age and things like that, change a bit as Rhule has gotten settled in Lincoln, like what he looked for initially and what I think he still looks for are like these young, energetic people who are just ready to throw themselves into their jobs. And
100%.
we're talking about a radio announcer here, but like that's kind of the vibe that I got from Kyle Crooks. So I asked him about being at Arrowhead Stadium in 2 months, and like, has it hit you yet that you're going to be calling a game from Arrowhead Stadium on August 28th? And he said, like, it's going to be a moment of reflection. First of all, no, not yet, because this has all been so fast. And what he's going to think of, or at least what he thinks of right now when he puts himself in that spot, is sitting under a tent at the top of the bleachers in northeastern Pennsylvania. I have never heard of this university. Misericordia University in Pennsylvania. It's a D3 school. Like, he didn't mention anything about Fairleigh Dickinson or USC Upstate. I think those might have been like very quick stops for Kyle, but he did the games the whole season for Misericordia University in 2016. Like, that's not that long ago.
No.
In 2016, I was like basically doing the same thing I'm doing now, sadly. But Nebraska was getting coached by Mike Riley in 2016. We're not talking about like an era, 2, 3, 4 eras ago, but Crooks was doing Misericordia football. I actually went and found the broadcast that he was talking about. If you can believe that Misericordia University archives the audio of their football games on their website, and all it takes is a couple of clicks, and you can be listening to a Misericordia University football game on your computer. It took 2 minutes. I wanted to hear the game because I wanted to verify what he was talking about, that it was cold and wet. He said he was solo on the crew, and his notes were wet because it was some kind of wintry mix, rain, snow on this late October day in Pennsylvania, and his teeth were chattering. And the student broadcast next to him took pity on him and went and got him a hot chocolate because they were looking over and saw this poor young broadcaster trying to call the action. And here in 2 months, he's going to be at Arrowhead Stadium calling Nebraska.
That's really cool. So like, first of all, when you're good, right? There's a lot of good broadcasters out there who are really, really good at their jobs. And sometimes they do games like Misericordia games for their entire careers. You know what I mean? Like,
he was good on that game. It sounded like I was listening to a game on Fox or something. Yeah.
And so a lot of the times, what sets you apart is your ability to sort of connect with people and your ability to, take whatever the job is and take it to the next level. And I think it's really cool that Nebraska ended up with Kyle. He seems like an awesome guy. I can't wait to meet him. That'll be pretty exciting. But obviously, this job comes with a different deal because he's replacing Greg Sharp. And that is something that I think Nebraska fans will be really, really happy to sort of embrace the new voice. Obviously, he's really good. And all that stuff as well, but you have to kind of be aware of all that stuff too. And Nebraska fans are really particular about the things that they want to hear and all of that stuff as well. And so he's a pro. He'll knock it out of the park, and I think this will be a fantastic deal for Nebraska.
I listened to like 10 minutes of that game from that rainy day in October, and I don't want to like jump way ahead, but I think Nebraska fans are really going to like his style, and people consume this broadcast so much differently than in the days of Kent Pavelka and Lyle Bremser. And Kyle Crooks, by the way, he was born in 1991, so he doesn't. But having said that, like in our interview, he referenced Pavelka, he referenced Bremser, like he knows who these people are. Like he's done his homework already, and he's not even in Lincoln yet. He talked in all the right ways, in the right tones about Greg and about Greg's family, and in saying like that it is important to him. The number one thing for him off the bat is to do justice to Nebraska and to make Greg's family proud. And that, that almost choked me up a little bit to hear him say that. And like you get the sense that he truly means it. And this is a guy who's coming from Florida and has spent the past 7 years on Florida sporting events. and did a ton of like small college and high school types of stuff before that. He's from New Jersey, so the connection to Nebraska is not really there. I asked him, like, where did Nebraska come across your consciousness on in your the growth of your career? Like, you don't remember the championships, clearly. Like, do you what do you remember? 40, 50, 60 point losses against Ohio State? Is that Nebraska to you?
The crown?
Yeah, yes. What he said, and this is not in the article, just because I only had like 800 or 900 words to use on Kyle. What he said is he referenced the volleyball stadium match. He was talking about Nebraska's brand,
interesting,
and how it's somewhat unlike any brand in college sports. And he said, I remember a couple years ago flipping through the channels and noticing the football stadium at Nebraska full of people. And I knew the football team wasn't playing, but I didn't know what it was. And I realized it was a volleyball match. And he said, I just sat there completely stunned and watched the whole thing. And, to this day, can hardly believe that they put 92,000 people into that place for volleyball. And that told him all that he needed to know about the passion around Nebraska athletics. And, and he verbalized that in a way that is better than what I just said. But some of this job goes beyond calling first down, second down, third down. It's about connecting with people. And that's what Greg was so good at, is just being out there and being part of the Nebraska fabric. And he was an outsider, Greg was, when he came in, even though from the Midwest, from Kansas City. This was a K-State guy. So certainly someone from Florida and from SEC country in the last few years is going to understand the passion that goes into what makes these football programs run. And I think he's going to embrace that, and Nebraskans are going to embrace him.
Yeah, I like what you said before too about the idea that these radio broadcasts are just they are taken in, they are consumed in such a different way.
Yeah.
Now, you're right. I mean, you're now you'll still hear from people. Kyle, I'll be interested to see what he thinks about hearing from people who will check in from the combine, in the fall. Sorry, my camera just went out or something like that. But from the combine in the fall, like, that'll be really cool. And I think that'll be a different deal for him. It's more.
The combine in the fields.
Not like
props.
NFL combine. Yeah, like
those are my mind went at first. The NFL combine. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, right. No, the actual like combine in the fields of the fall.
You bet. Of course they will.
It's a little bit more of like a highlight driven type of thing, and I think he'll knock it all out of the park.
I don't know if John Deere has perfected a combine that has a screen on it where you can watch the TV broadcast, but that's maybe the last vestige of Nebraska fans who can. Are you still there?
I'm still here, but my camera is a disaster right now.
I don't know what's going on. It's in another language at this point, but
just keep going.
That's like people who are with their crops, who are doing farming things. That might be one of the last places that the radio broadcast reaches in its old way of doing things, where people would sit down and listen to an entire game because everybody else is watching it on TV. But the radio announcer reaches people through social media now, which didn't exist in the days when you listened to all the games. Now you're going to get Kyle Crooks' voice in the way that you used to get Greg Sharp's voice all over the highlights that Nebraska posts on its website and on its social media channel. So people are going to get used to his voice. It's just that they're going to consume it in a different way. And it's going to be really interesting to see how all of that plays out.
Let's take a break here. You do the ad read and don't be distracted by the fact that I'm going to go in and out here for a second. Right. But we'll be back on the Locked On Nebraska podcast after this.
Okay, break here to tell you about Monarch Money. And the question is this: do you ever wonder where all your money went? Because between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track of your money. Just like I'm losing track of Connor right now because I cannot see him on my screen. Hopefully he's back for the second segment of this podcast. If not, that's okay. And this is where Monarch Money comes in. Strange transition there. Monarch Money is your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. Monarch Money has all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Okay, Connor appears to be back. Took some strange twists in the ad read there as I was trying to comment on your absence and promote Monarch Money. But we're back for segment number 2 on this Thursday of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. I am Mitch Sherman. Connor is here. I think he's 70% here. The voice is returning. He's been out the past couple of days, just laid up, unable to speak in the wake of what he saw. He was left speechless by the College World Series this year.
That's right.
You're going to attempt to do 3 hours plus on the radio today. How is that going to go? Are you going to take tea with what's your preferred method to soothe your throat through this hard time that you're having?
Yeah, I like I'll stop at the gas station on my way in and I'll get some of those Halls, the honey coated, those lozenges. Those usually keep me going pretty good, but I'm not going to be able to stop the random cough attacks that happen during the show. So maybe if I keep my camera going during the show, that'd be helpful as well. But that's obviously not the case here. So we're in for a wild day, I think.
When you were out, I'm curious, were you able to keep track of what was going on with this EA Sports video game release? So they put out a preview video on YouTube, and Kirk Herbstreit narrates it, and it's got a lot of coaches shown in the video. They call them archetypes for the coaches. I don't really know what I'm talking about here. I had to check in with a lot of different people. I reached out to Max Olson, our good friend from ESPN, who has written and done a lot of work on EA Sports College Football. I talked to my 14-year-old Zach, who plays the 25 game. I talked to Caleb Henry, friend of us, who tweeted something with the picture of Matt Rhule. I just said, is this real? Is this actually what he looks like in the video game? So were you able to keep up with this?
Yes.
This
so
stuff?
I think I can help you out probably a little bit as well as a player of the college football video game from last year. So last year on the game, they did not have any coaches whatsoever, and you couldn't customize them.
I did learn
really
that.
much outside of they you could either make them wear a polo or a jacket, and that was it. Or,
polo?
What are these polo? You could make them wear a polo or a jacket, and that's pretty much it. You could make them tall or short or fat or skinny, and that's kind of the deal. So there wasn't a lot of customization options. And so this year they put all the coaches in their names in the game, and it appears as if they have stuck to the you have to fit in a box or two. So we do. If you're watching along with us on YouTube, we're going to put this up now. That is Matt Rhule in 2026 college football. And that is definitely accurate. That is exactly what he looks like.
That is not Matt Rhule. That is Fat Rhule. What happened to Matt Rhule? Matt Rhule's been doing a good job. He's been eating clean. He's been paying attention to what Kristen Coggin, Nebraska's director of nutrition, has to say to all of the coaches. I've spent some time with Kristen, and she was about to take me in as a client, and then I reminded her, no, I don't work here. She's like, it's okay. We'll get you a meal plan. She very much takes care of everyone who comes into contact with the Nebraska football program, including the coaches and definitely the head coach. So if anyone's really going to take offense to this representation of Matt Rhule with his pants 4 sizes too large, it should be Kristen and Nebraska's nutrition team. I don't know what that is. That's not, I mean, the beard is one thing. It's not great. but the body type, my goodness, like they made Lane Kiffin and Kirby Smart and even like Ryan Day, who's built pretty similarly to Matt Rhule, look like UFC fighters and like bantamweights or middleweights. And then here's Rhule, just getting out of the buffet line. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, this is I did see people kind of overreacting to this on the internet. It does not look like him. That much is very, very true. It does not really look like him at all. Certainly is not his body type. But I'm going to find a way to be unoffended by this. I'm just gonna go ahead and, because this is what happened.
I just think it's funny.
Last year there was like, they came up with the ratings and everything, and they were like, what do you mean? Jamal Banks is only a 74 or something like that. I'm like, I don't
watch
care.
the season.
Yeah, I don't really care about any of this stuff. But yeah, they put the coaches in the game, and Matt Rhule got done a little bit dirty. It's very, very sad.
So I was certain on Tuesday when this came out that Nebraska would have a response. Just knowing the people and the players behind the scenes at Nebraska, including the coach, I was certain that you would hear from Nebraska in some way or another.
Just tweet out the picture of him on top of the cow again, or the bull.
Did you see? You saw it, right? The Nebraska football account did tweet out.
Oh, they did do that. Okay.
Yes, they did. They tweeted out a split screen of what was just on our screen. The picture of Matt Rhule from the EA Sports video game. And then on the bottom half was Matt Rhule with the live bull and his foot on the boombox, wearing the shades, decked out. He's got the chain on and the sunglasses. Yeah, I mean, it's very tan Matt Rhule, tan and fit. And it's summer Matt Rhule. So it says, the post says, you versus the guy she told you not to worry about.
Nice. That's a meme. People say that in memes sometimes.
Yes. And then Rhule retweeted it and put some kind of emojis on there too. So they're paying attention. I think it's going to get changed. Some people have argued with me who know more about EA Sports College Football 26 than I do and said they're not going to change that. I think EA Sports, this is like, it's just a prototype right now. The game's coming out on July 10th. So pretty soon. But I think they're gonna adjust what Matt Rhule looks like by the time.
I'm sure they'll somewhere along the way they'll patch it. Whatever. If enough people get angry about it and they feel like it's easy enough to fix, they'll find a way to fix it.
This isn't like the old day where you buy the game at Target and it's like a cartridge that you plug into your console, right? Like it's all digital, it's all online. You have the Game Pass that you pay a ridiculous amount of money for every month. So if they want to change something, they don't have to like recall your product. They just change it in the cloud, and then it's fixed. It shouldn't be that big of a deal.
This is exactly correct. I would like to hear you describe video games for a long time on this show, by the way. But you're right. You're exactly correct. You don't have to like send it back to the manufacturer or anything like that. It'll just download the update right onto your system, which is great.
I got like Pitfall and Asteroids and Super Mario Brothers on my brain where I'm putting it in my Nintendo and you have to like, you're pushing it down, but it's not clicking. It's not, and you need to reset it and And then you end up unplugging the console. And I don't know. I think I blew a couple of them up by resetting them the wrong way too many times.
Sure. Yeah.
That's not today though.
No,
and Matt Rhule is grateful.
There's not even discs anymore. It's just you just click and it's just there. That's how video games work. We sound very old. So let's maybe we'll probably continue to do so on the other side when we talk about some recruits that Nebraska just picked up recently. Finally starting to pick up steam on the 2026 class. We'll be back after this. All right, so there's been some consternation about the 2026 Nebraska recruiting class. Oh, they're not going to take any of these local guys, and there's a quarterback who's committed to Alabama, who we've now talked about, who's from the state. They're losing a commit, but all the numbers aren't necessarily going to be there. So you need some good things to happen for you. Monday, they got a couple commitments. Danny Odom out of Orlando is a cornerback.
He's a big deal.
Yeah, big deal. Picked Nebraska over Ohio State and some other big hitters out there. And then a running back out of Charlotte named Jamal Rhule, Rule. Picked Nebraska over the likes of Michigan State. So finally, some good news for the Nebraska recruiting front here.
Yeah, Jamal Rhule is a big-bodied, not in the way we were just talking about Matt Rhule on the EA Sports. He's like a downhill kind of runner as a running back. That's not
like that.
That's not him.
Yep.
And so this is the first running back in the class. And speaking of consternation, running back is a position of consternation.
Yes.
When I visited with Dana Holgerson a couple of weeks ago, that story was out. That was last week, actually. Story was out Friday on The Athletic. Check that out if you haven't. We talked about the running back some. Some of those quotes are in my roundup today that you can find along with the Kyle Crooks story. Dana talking about the backs, and I thought he was a little more open, a little more transparent about the situation going into the fall. So recruiting running backs is top of mind. You're going to need some players to fill this position. Like, this can't become a thing for Nebraska where, it's a secondary type of spot. I understand in the new world of college football, and on Tuesday, by the way, July 1st, the checks can start to go out with players receiving rev share money. In this new world of college football where everything's about valuations, you can have an argument, you can have a conversation about where running backs work, and like, is it like the NFL model where you just kind of pick a guy up off of the free agent market and plug him in, and that works for a year and you find another guy. Like, I still think you have to search for blue chip running backs in the high schools. And
100%.
Jamal Rhule is a 3-star guy out of Charlotte, somebody that Nebraska feels like has a lot of promise. Important position, at least in a highly visible position. Cornerback, which Danny Odom plays, is a highly valued position. And Nebraska's likely, I would say, just because of the way the money breaks down, we've never had to talk about this before in recruiting, likely only to take a couple of corners in this class. And they lost one in CJ Brona from Florida. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Brona, Bronaugh. Was committed to Nebraska for a while, now committed to Florida. Huskers lost him a few weeks ago. And Odom
in the Kyle Crooks trade.
Yes, that's correct. He was an announcer to be named later that came on board this week. So Odom fills that spot, and Odom's from the Upper Midwest, originally from kind of the Pennsylvania, Ohio border area. Was thought to be a lean early in the process for Penn State, like a lock for Penn State. And as you said, Connor, he picked Nebraska over Ohio State. So the other guy to look at that corner spot, like if things work out the way Nebraska wants at that position in this 2026 class, is Darian Jones. Speaking of local products, the Omaha North senior to be brother of I almost said son. That would be incorrect. Brother of Donovan Jones. So,
there goes my camera again.
Yeah, you can just stay there. I think that works.
Right.
Yeah. So we can't see Connor right now, but Darian Jones, priority target for Nebraska in recruiting coming up. If they can get him and pair him with Danny Odom, that would be ideal for this class.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I heard a lot of buzz to Iowa on the Darian Jones front lately. So, I mean, that's the other thing with in-state recruiting. It's not only if you lose the guy or if you don't offer the guy, but if you do put quote unquote high priority on the guy and then he ends up at like Iowa, that might be a tougher one for people to swallow. So we'll see.
Don't you think? Like, I would say it undoubtedly hurts more to lose a player like Darian. I think Darian Jones is going to end up at Nebraska. I just do. I think I think Nebraska will do the job in getting him in. Like, they will. I believe they will win him over. They've had him on campus for an official visit now, and I've heard the Iowa talk too. Apparently there's some sentiment there, like history growing up that they cheered for the Hawks. with his brother Donovan in Lincoln and progressing well. I think that's a tough hill to climb in the end for Iowa. We'll see. Maybe I'm way off on that. But if you were to, like, hypothetically lose a top recruit that you covet to Iowa or a top recruit that you covet to Alabama, is it way worse to lose one? What do you think? What do you think is harder for Nebraska fans? I would say Iowa. At the same time, like, Alabama's kind of still in that place at the pinnacle of college football, and it's hard to see a Nebraska high school product go there too.
Well, I think it's harder generally to lose one to Iowa, just because, not to put a blanket over the entire thing, but if you're losing a recruit to Iowa, you're probably thinking that player is, he's a regional prospect. He's one that you feel like you can get under normal circumstances, right? If you offer him and the interest is mutual, then he's going to be a person that commits to your school. So in the case, especially with Darian Jones, and you look at from the outside looking in, his brother goes to Nebraska. It's like, oh, well, that guy should be a Nebraska Cornhusker at the end of the day. So yes, I think it would hurt dramatically worse to lose a guy like that to Iowa than it would be, especially with a guy like Jet Tamala, who Nebraska really never showed any interest in.
Right. On the flip side, he's a quarterback and he could have a huge impact. Yeah. So if you mess up on somebody and you mess up on a corner or a tight end or a linebacker, at the end of the day, like, somebody else plays that position, and what's the war there? Like, what's the wins above replacement in at that position? At quarterback, it can be massive. If Jet Tamala ends up, recruited or not by Nebraska, if Jet Tamala ends up going to Alabama and leading them to the college football playoff, or becoming an all SEC kind of player, or going to the NFL, like, I think that one would sting. But there's really nothing that stings quite like losing a recruit to the neighboring school who you play every year in November. So Nebraska's at 8 on the commits for the 2026 class, probably close to the spot that it wants to be going into as we go toward July. Training camp opens at the end of July, July 28th, and I think Nebraska would like to add 3 or 4 commits by then, and then you take it into the season. And as we've talked about, it's a gamble this year for Matt Rhule to leave some spots and maybe play it a little slower in recruiting through the summer than what we've seen over the past 2 years, in part because the class is going to be smaller, and in part because you're banking on the success that you expect to have this fall, producing opportunities for you to sign elite level recruits toward the end, or get commitments from elite level recruits toward the end, and then bring them on board in December. So it's definitely a different dynamic with this 2026 recruiting class than what we've grown accustomed to at Nebraska, really in any of the recent coaching regimes. They're going to want to finish strong. You always want to finish strong, but I think there's more of an emphasis on doing that in this class.
All right, that's it for us today. We got to get out of here before this whole thing blows up, apparently, because thanks for sticking with us, by the way. Get in your mailbag question.
You look good, Connor.
Yeah, I've never looked better. The little blinking thing, if you're watching along with us on YouTube. Anyway, get in your mailbag questions for tomorrow. We'll try and get a working camera. And thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show with Brian Smith. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Virtual Wave.